No preparation, just wing it. See how it goes
Yeah,
this week.
exactly. That's how we roll in life. Welcome back to another episode of Building Our SaaS Company in Public. I'm Ben and this is Tyler, and we are the co-founders of Masset. And even as I said that intro, these aren't actually weekly. I feel like they're kind of sporadic because we have time to do them. And I think that's perfectly okay. But today is another edition of it. I'm going to force Tyler to go first about what we've done in the last little while, especially because we just had a big launch for the company and want to kind of talk to him through that.
Yeah, HubSpot is live. That is a big thing for us, and we've gotten a lot of responses from people talking about it. So that's awesome. We had a couple fun onboarding calls with some customers and got some good reactions. So it's live. It's working. That was, geez, how many months of work? At least a few
It's a
months of
lot.
work. So it was a lot. So it's fun to see that come to a culmination. Um, yeah, and be making tweaks as it's getting shipped. So lots of fun stuff there. And this week so we shipped HubSpot and then I've moved on. So we are currently working on SOC 2 compliance isn't the right word, but SOC 2 certification or report is what we're doing. And it's some of my fun learnings as a co-founder entrepreneur this week is it was a reinstating of SOC 2 is really not that valuable for a tiny company like we are. It has value in the fact that it helps show that we know what we're doing, right? Because that's the purpose of it, right? Like SOC 2's purpose is to show that a company knows what they're doing, right? The unfortunate thing is like when you have a company like us that already knew what we were doing and we're already doing the right things, it really just becomes a matter of proving that we're doing the right things. And so I spent I think 4 days this week reworking our network architecture of our AWS VPC environments just solely so that we can prove that we're doing what we say that we're supposed to be doing. So I was joking earlier this week with my wife, like generally when you're a startup founder, the best way to measure your success is not effort, because a lot of founders just don't do it, right? Like, because a lot of people work really hard. There's a lot of people that work really hard. So you can't measure success of whether you're doing what you need to as a founder or as an early employee based on did I work the amount of time that I was supposed to this week. Oftentimes that does not lead to a good outcome, right? Like oftentimes it doesn't lead to any outcome. And so you normally try and define your success as an early stage employee or co-founder or founder as, did I get revenue or did I deliver value in some way, shape, or form? Right. Like that might be a feature, it might be a bug fix to retain somebody or something, but it's generally delivering value. But with this stuff, SOC 2 is delivering value for us as a company, but we're kind of in the, because it again ticks the box, shows that we have the report, shows that we're doing, but it's kind of this interesting thing where we're already doing all this stuff. So it doesn't technically deliver value for our customers. It's
Yeah.
like we're already doing these things. We're just proving that we're doing these things. And so I had to reevaluate my measure of success this week. And this week I did measure myself on like, did I put effort into working and pushing this forward? Because the ultimate outcome of like at the end of the day, we're still doing exactly what we were doing at the beginning of this week, which is good because we're doing what we need to. We can just prove that we're doing it now. So anyway, long story short, fun finding this week is just sometimes you have to measure your success not based on, customer value delivered. Sometimes you have to measure it just, you did the grind this week. And that was this kind of week for me, is just I did the grind this week, made some good progress. We can prove that we do a lot of things that we already did and move the needle forward on getting that report done. But hopefully very soon, I get more pleasure and enjoyment. I think you're the same way, Ben, of like delivering value that people can see, right? Like
Yeah.
delivering things and, making things faster, better, more fun, more enjoyable. That's kind of, that's the kind of, value I love delivering on a more frequent basis. So hopefully we can get back to that type sooner than later.
I
But that
love
was
it.
kind of my week.
Yeah. And you can hear my kids in the background. That's just getting close to summer break.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, a question I have for you when it comes to SOC 2, because I love how you explain that, because I do agree, like from day one, you are someone who has the experience that from day one, we built the
Yeah,
system
I've
to,
built systems in the past, right?
yeah,
Like,
but you
yeah,
built it so it would be safe and secure. You knew the requirements that would come down the pipeline. You knew what it took to build an enterprise kind of a system. Vibe coding and AI coding is a big deal right now.
yeah,
I feel like SOC 2 might like be harder for these companies. Like they're going to be able to hack together something that might
yeah. It's
work.
going to
But
be
then
really
when it comes to like
interesting.
SOC 2, it's got to be a nightmare, right? Like, is that going to be the case?
I think the answer is kind of it depends, right? Like it depends on who's the one doing the vibe coding, right? Because
Yeah.
if
Say it's
you're
someone
just,
not experienced though, right?
yeah,
Like
it's going to
not a
be a
you.
trouble. It's going to be a
Like if
trouble
me, if
for
I
sure.
vibe coded, I would be screwed when it came to getting SOC 2, right? Like it would be nearly
Yeah.
impossible. You'd have to scrap it.
Well, and that's not just SOC 2. It's terrifying right now, just security in general, right? Like a SOC 2, we don't have to go into the details, but SOC 2 isn't necessarily about security. SOC 2 is about controls, right? Like it's essentially saying, this is how we operate our business. And we're going to prove that we are operating our business in the way that we say that we're operating it. And so controls are anything from HR process to how you onboard vendors to how you provision laptops to security posture in your deployed servers, right? Like it's a whole range of things. It's even includes like performance reviews, right? Like Ben, you've had to start doing performance reviews for me because I'm technically an employee. So I have to have an employee, like we have to have a process showing that we're doing those, right? So long story short, like SOC 2 covers a lot of controls. And the ironic thing that people don't even understand, I think, about a lot of times with SOC 2 is it only proves the controls you have are being executed. So if your controls are crap, then it proves that you're doing crap, right? Like that's
Yeah.
really what it is. Like if you have garbage controls, then it proves that you're doing garbage controls. So hopefully you have good controls. And I think a lot of the good auditors out there will verify that you have the right controls in place, which is good. But security is only a sub part of that. And so I anecdotally, like I read a fun article this week about somebody that, you know, their friend tried to go sign up for some dating app and they were like, hey, is this secure? And so they're like, let me go check. And so this guy, I think it was a white hat code or a white hat hacker, right? And he went and checked. And he said, I think it was like within an hour, he had found a way to expose like literally every single user in the dating apps database and like all of their preferences and everything. And he just, the general mentality just felt like this feels like a vibe coded thing, right? Like essentially they got something working, but they told some AI to generate it all. And who knows if that's true, but that's kind of the thought and what it kind of felt like. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, actually. I think there's a lot of risk there, right? Because getting something working and making something secure are two completely different things, right? And
Yeah.
I think that AI is really good at getting something working and maybe analyzing something as to whether it's secure. But if you don't understand what you're creating, it's going to be really hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I do much vibe coding. I use AI a lot to give me a good starting point on a lot of stuff, but it really depends. So, long story short, like I don't see a world where vibe coding really helps people accomplish SOC 2 or security. It definitely, I could see a very real world where SOC 2 is going to come out with a new version or something or augment the requirements that has some sort of oversight on vibe coding and that it's baked into like your set of controls. Like I could see a very real scenario in which like the controls get updated or the standard set of controls get updated to have something that monitors that, right? That's a lot of rambling. And to say one more thing, fine, like this is very technically oriented, but like a good set of controls will have something called an SDLC, right? Like a software development life cycle policy, which is this is how we develop software at our company. Ours does actually mention, you know, security and AI. Essentially, all security and AI related things have to have a second set of eyes. So I could see a lot of SDLCs getting updated saying, hey, it's our policy as a company that vibe coding is fine, but it has to be reviewed by a security professional or something before it gets shipped, right? So
Yeah.
I think the industry will move that way for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's why we went the extra mile. We did penetration testing and we've done that stuff as well. I could see AI doing a really good job of like aiding, penetration test companies to be like,
Yeah.
hey, here's an AI, go attack and figure out all the different vulnerabilities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
That kind of depends
interesting.
too. Like you're touching on all the things that like are fun to talk about, but like what a lot of pen test companies out there, this is a Tyler hot take. We haven't had Tyler hot takes on the podcast before, but a lot of pen test companies out there are hot mess. They're garbage. I'll be honest. Like, and finding the good ones, like we found a really good one, and I absolutely love their work. You could tell they knew what they were doing, but I have known earlier in my career, I was friends with people that said they got hired in college as an intern at, a big firm, and their job was quote unquote pen testing. And all they did went and ran open source software called like Burp Suite and such, ran it across somebody's site and said, okay, cool, write up a report and you're done. Right. Like
Mm,
that is a pen test to get a box ticked, but it doesn't actually tell you anything about your software. Right. But a
yeah.
lot of companies do that because it comes back clean because it didn't find anything because they didn't do a good job. It's kind of this weird dichotomy. And they're like, sweet, I'm really happy with this pen tester because he didn't find anything and I don't have to fix anything. But honestly, the best pen testers are the ones that come back with things that you didn't know or you knew about and hoped they wouldn't find or things along those lines. So long story short, vet your pen testers, get some good ones, read around to find what good ones are. Happy to give some recommendations if anybody's listening to this looking for pen testers.
What I love is this concept of having this set of standards where somebody has to know what the code does, like the extra side of, extra eyes. Cause like, I can just imagine something breaking. And if someone doesn't like, at least someone in the company doesn't know what a set of code does, like
Yeah.
fixing that or doing,
Well,
someone's
especially
got to
around
actually know what the
oh
code
man.
does.
Yeah, like you're terrifying me. Like especially around the concept of security, right? Like can you imagine getting a result from a pen test that was like, hey, somebody vibe coded this and it's got a big security hole in it. So I'm going to go use vibe coding and say vibe coding,
Go fix this.
go fix this thing. There's like a greater than 50% chance that they fix it and then new security bug gets introduced, right? Like it's terrifying to think that people would try and fix those kind of issues using vibe coding.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were actually messaging earlier about this today. My opinion of AI, and you were talking about how like it's got to be really tough for entry level CS college students. For me, the same thing with like entry level content writers or
Yeah.
entry level marketers of any kind. AI is kind of replacing the doers, right? AI is a really good executor of tasks. But I look at it with the analogy of an orchestra, like a really full orchestra, and you have the conductor who knows the music, probably may have written the piece of music and is conducting the orchestra. All of the individuals playing those instruments is going to be replaced by AI. You have to learn how to be the conductor and how to use all of the 200 agents. And each agent, like, I know how to play the trumpet. The trumpet's a really bad example for an orchestra. I know how to play the
I
violin.
was like, is there a trumpet in the
I
orchestra?
know how to
Maybe
play
there
the
is.
cello.
French
Isn't there some
horn.
kind of an orchestra that's mixed? But
French horn. Yeah.
there's, you play the bass, you play this and that, and they orchestrate it all without having to play the instruments themselves.
Yeah. And I
And
think that's actually I think that's a great analogy
I think that's
because
kind of what it's going to be like with AI, to be honest.
because I remember I played in band when I was in middle and high school, and I could have told you that I sounded great, right? Like I guarantee you, if you had asked me then, I sound great. I'm one of the best. It was I third chair bass clarinet, like the worst position. Like yes, I was, but like if you
Third
told me that
chair,
was
that's high quality
yeah,
right there.
that's high quality. Like, but again, anecdotally, I went to my son's orchestra concert this week, and And I guarantee each one of those kids felt like they hit every note perfectly, right? But that orchestra teacher could hear exactly what was and wasn't hitting, right? And you could see that she would look over and help them, tweak it and change it. And that's the thing, is like, even if you're not the orchestra director, you need to know how to identify when the player's wrong, right? Like, because if you're sitting in isolation, you're not going to be able to know.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I love that. Because it's the same thing with marketing. I can say, okay, I've done all of this stuff before. It's sad, but I'm creeping up almost on 20 years of experience of what I do. But to say, okay, go do this. Like, again, I'm rolling, this set of instruments, we're doing this, and then you kind of, okay, AI agent is now off to the races. Let me focus my attention elsewhere. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion. So being entry level is going to be tough, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it
It's going to
is.
be someone like you who's got a ton of experience in computer science. You're going to be able to use agents in all sorts of great ways because the architecture and all that kind of stuff. You can make sure they're all playing the right tune. But if you don't write the music or know how to write the music, you're going to be hosed, in my honest
Yeah,
opinion.
that's really tough. I really hope the market adjusts, right? Like, I've been trying to think through, my dream is to be able to give back significantly, like, to the industry that I love, right? Like, I love computer science, I love programming. I'm like, how do we help? How do we help these recent grads? And I guess it's not just computer science; it's all fields. But it's like, yeah, you got to get over this hump. But people aren't going to. I mean, you have people like Salesforce or companies like Salesforce that just announced, "Hey, we're cutting our hiring of engineers in half." Right. Well, I guarantee it's not the senior engineers that they're cutting in half. That's that's,
Juniors.
hey, we're not going to hire juniors anymore, right? And it's like, well, how do these people get experience? So, yeah, hopefully the market adjusts and there's ways that we can help do that with people.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I'm sure, just like everything, there'll be a new pathway that opens up where people kind of go out there and figure out how to make it work. And it's kind of the cool thing about human nature is, any obstacle that comes our way, human nature is we find a way around it. And I'm sure it'll happen. It's just like you said, I'd love to be able to assist, because you got those kids coming off with a crap ton of debt. And, it's, even like a CS degree that people traditionally would say this is like one of the safest degrees you can get,
Yeah.
like
I
that
mean,
now
CS
becomes
has
tough.
been, yeah, CS over the CS of like the late 2000s is like accounting in the 90s, right? It was like, hey, this is the solid career you go into, but not that way anymore. To be less of a downer, though, hopefully AI all leads to us all having less than 40-hour work weeks, right? Like, that's what it should do, right? Like, it should drive our total workable hours per week down, because now we don't have to do as much, right? That should be the dream.
Depends. Like,
Ben disagrees. Ben thinks that we should work 80 hours a week with AI now.
no, no, I would love to not work more, but I'm, I think the American dream, or at least the philosophy and the mentality of America, is that, okay, great, now we have AI agents. I'm going to expect twice the output from you
Yeah.
than I normally did because I'm giving you these tool sets and I'm expecting this. And then all of a sudden people do have to work more. It's never I think like in Europe, the culture would be like, sweet, like now I can have an AI agent take over for me for 2 months so I can go and have my vacation or I can
Yeah.
have more work-life balance. The United States, I just don't feel like we're wired that way. At least a lot of people aren't. Like, I know almost every single company I've ever worked for or I've ever heard of, the expectation would be, let's increase results, let's increase output.
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, hey, sweet, now I can give you Fridays off.
Yeah.
There's like maybe a 0.5% of companies that would do that, in my opinion. I would like us to buck the trend.
Me too.
But I just
It's
think
like,
in general, most people are going to say, okay, sweet, now we can do more with less people, but expect even more out of those people. And so they're just going to be as stressed out as always. Like,
yeah,
they're never going to get out of that cycle. In
I
my
agree with
honest,
that.
cynical opinion. Is that
I
fair?
agree with, I think, no, I totally agree with that. I hope that culturally we can shift that, right? Like, I hope that we can use enabling tools to make our lives better instead of just expecting more from people. But I think I agree with you. Like, I think that there's going to have to be a cultural movement, and it can't be like a regulation based thing either, right? Like, it can't be like because that won't work in the long term. So,
No, I mean, it's going to come from founders, to be honest. One
yeah.
of the big things is going to come from founders who are comfortable with not making as much money and giving, people flexibility and freedom. It's going to come from, I think, one cool trend that I do love, and this is a weird episode, but awesome. Like, we'll go down this road.
We're all over the place.
This is the true Tyler and me. This is who we are. We care, like, we deeply think about this stuff all the time. It's fascinating. But I think this movement for profitability versus grow at all costs, that was extremely over indexed on having funding and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
is a really healthy movement, because I think the mentality kind of shifts towards use the resources you have well, with realistic expectations of growth and stuff like that. It used to be
Yeah.
you could have an okay product, but you could buy 2x growth or 3x growth, right? And even if you can't buy it, like, even times I have literally been told, I don't care what the return is, go spend another $100,000 this month because
Yeah.
we need it to be spent. I don't care if it gets you anything, just go spend it. Like, that is really bad, right?
Yeah.
Like,
But it has been the operating mantra of the VC, of the early VC world, right? For the last decade, right? Like,
and it's
high
shifting.
spend, high raise, right? That's essentially what it's been.
Yeah, because when, again, you talked about outcomes before, if the outcome is an exit and that exit is contingent on one metric of revenue and revenue alone for the most part, now, rule of 40, yada, 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 all the other metrics.
Yeah.
RR was like the guiding principle of SaaS. And so it was, okay, do whatever it takes to get to that outcome so we can have our 25x exit and everyone's happy. Now profitability is a much bigger factor. Now, revenue is always going to play a major role, but it feels like, can you hit your goals without wasting resources? And I feel like that leads to a healthier work-life balance anyways, because it's kind of like the same mentality in life. Like, you don't have to have the best of everything, just have a happy life. You don't need to be buying everything and doing everything. Work within your means, live within your means, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think, again, we are going all over the place, but I think a lot of that is tied to early, what I'd consider like early VC mentality, to what I'm considering now kind of evolved VC mentality. Like, again, talking to VCs 20 years ago or 10 years ago, it was all about the 1 in 100, right? And I think that's generally the operating mentality still. Like, that's how VCs make their huge returns, right? It's like they get the 1 out of the 100 that is a billion-dollar company, and they make up 80% of their returns. But I am seeing more and more people and more VCs that I talk to that are kind of like, look, we're realizing that it all averages out to a 25 to 30% growth. If we just have companies that grow 50 or 60%, right, or
Mm-hmm.
100%, it doesn't have to be 1,000% growth year over year to average out to the 30% on the fund that they want,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so you're seeing a lot of VCs as well that I think are given that mentality, are not saying, because again, in the old mentality is like, I don't care if you go spend $100,000 and don't get anything out of it. If you're not the one, you're going to die. You're not going to be the returner for me. So I don't
Yeah.
care. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
go burn
true.
$100,000, die. I don't care. If you're not the one, then you're not the one. I'll move on. I
Yeah.
think a lot more VCs now care a lot more about the longevity of the companies in their portfolios, because they're realizing they have to hold those portfolios for decades, right? Maybe up to 10 years
Yeah. If
to
people are
get a
afraid to
return.
IPO that normally would be
Yeah.
giddy for it, like, there are exits available that nobody wants anymore.
Yeah. And so it's like they got to hold their portfolios much longer, which leads to a much more this idea of like, yeah, we want you to grow, but you don't have to die to get growth. Like, you
Yeah.
can grow, be a sustainable company, and take a few more years to get there, because the IPO market's so bad right now anyway. So who
Yeah.
cares, right? So I do think it's kind of evolving with the VC mentality as well, and a shift culturally there a bit is too.
Well, and I also really love the impact it makes on products, because I feel like what it does is forces better products, because the only way, in my honest opinion, for profitable and still fast growth is having an amazing product that people talk about and spread naturally and organically through word of mouth, referrals, and organic channels, because that's free marketing and free sales for your business. People are built in from a psychology perspective to trust their peers, their tribes, their groups with their opinions. The whole, online reviews could show you 2 out of 5 stars on a specific car, but if your best friend drives that car and absolutely loves it, it wipes out 10,000 reviews, right? And I think now what we're seeing is the most successful companies are going to have to quadruple down on, you have the greatest product. And marketing, I think, will shift up funnel. And the funnel is a terrible analogy of the real buyer journey, but they're going to move to, hey, this is who we are. We just want you to know who we are. We want to build a relationship. And that's it. Let's provide value, show we care about what you're talking about. When you get lower in the funnel, hopefully you know someone that already knows, who we are,
Yeah.
what we do, and you've heard about us, and that's how we're going to sell you anyways.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. All right. As far as my week went, we're not going to dive into it. Onboarding. Onboarding was kind of the theme of the week. Working with people, helping them make training material. We have, the product is interesting. We go through initial onboarding, where we have done a really good job of making that process easy to get your content and your admins onto Masset. Like, some people spend so much time and money. Like, literally getting a DAM or sales enablement system can take you 3 to 6 months, if not longer. I've talked to people that it takes longer. We promise in 4 hours. Like, that's something we really care about. And then once that's done, there's a whole secondary onboarding that people often neglect when it comes to onboarding the rest of the company onto the platform. We're really kind of doubling a lot of efforts. I've been spending a lot of time. Like, we'll create video material and emails and all sorts of stuff to help these admins and buyers of Masset actually roll it out to their whole company. Because if they don't have adoption in their company, the product doesn't really do them any good.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we spend time on. And so it's kind of, you always get this wave of initial onboarding, and then you get a secondary wave of how do we onboard to the rest of the company. So I've been spending a lot of time on that, just helping our customers and our clients be successful in rolling out the product to the rest of their organization. So, and we have some big ones. Like, we have some multiple companies that are rolling it out, and they're big orgs and getting it up and running for the whole organization, which is awesome. So that's kind of where I spent my time.
We had one of our customers do a rebrand this week, and we saw, I think it was about 65% of their company got on to Masset on one day, right? Like, which is awesome. Like, that's exactly like what we like to see Masset being used for. So yeah, it's a matter, like you said, it's kind of this dual stage onboarding of onboarding the content and also onboarding the people and getting both sides of that.
Rebrands are excellent usage days for us.
Yes, they are.
Because all of a sudden, oh, hey, I need new material with a new brand. Great. Guess where you go to find it? It's all in Masset. So you got to use the product. So love it. All right. Well, we just about hit a half an hour. But for everyone listening,
we could split this into 2 episodes if we want, or double speed.
I think we just make it a marathon episode. And if honestly someone gets this far, I want you to DM Tyler and I the word like spaghetti to prove that you got here, and we'll do something cool for you. Like, I don't know what we'll do. We'll give you a virtual high five or send you a funny GIF or something like that. But I want to know if someone gets this far. So,
all right, let's call it.
We'll see you. Have a good weekend.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.